Hello readers and welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year, and I hope you all have had a lovely and safe festive period. I know that in the UK we've been plunged back into lockdown, so I hope wherever you are watching this from, whether you're in lockdown or whether you're not, I hope you're coping okay and that you're keeping yourselves safe as we go through another tumultuous time in 2021, but remain hopeful that it will be on its way out from now on. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. For those of you new to my channel, I'm Katie Ward, an award-winning self-published author. I am creating this channel as a way to share my experiences of that journey with you and to also help other people who are thinking about the self-publishing route and maybe have a lot of questions. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have, so do put them down in the comments box below. But I wanted to share with you the journey that I'm going to take upon publishing my second novel, Red Roses, and I would like to share with you some exciting news in relation to that. So yesterday I completed the first edit, which is also the very first read-through of the book in its entirety, and it works really well together. I'm obviously, if you've come to this channel before, you'll know that this book is being written in the style of a classic tragedy. So I'm modernising that classic Shakespearean tragedy element and I'm bringing it into a new generation so that it can be enjoyed by a wider audience. And I had my first read through yesterday and it works so well. It really packs a punch and I literally was trying not to cry. So I think that's a really good sign, the fact that I'm being quite moved and I wrote it. Hopefully you, my readers, will also find it quite moving, but in a really positive way, because, you know, a tragedy, as I've said before, is nothing about being miserable. It's nothing about being sad. It's very uplifting and, you know, maybe there's a happy ending in there despite the tragedy. You'll have to wait and see. And in this video, what I would like to share with you is what you need to look for when you come to source an editor. Because for me, the next step is to find an editor and really whip that manuscript into shape, because although I'd like to think it's perfect, it really is not perfect. It's gone out for its first read to some beta readers before it goes to the editor, and I think that's really important, just to get an idea about if there's any plot holes or anything that, you know, needs to be addressed within the story. And one of the things I'm getting back quite quickly is that I haven't described the places enough. I need to give a little bit more character description because I think I was a little reluctant to over explain or over describe, and I think what I have actually done is under described. So that's a really interesting thing for me to know that I need to tweak, and I will make those little edits and then I will hand over to an editor who will be able to really help me pull it into shape. So in today's video, I want to give you the 5 things you need to consider when looking for an editor to help you in the self-publishing process. The first thing you need to consider when you are looking for an editor to help you is what type of editor you're looking for. This was something that I was really flummoxed by when I first started looking for an editor for The Pretender, because I thought, well, sure, all editors are editors and they are all the same, right? Wrong. They are not all the same. So for instance, a developmental editor will give you a lot around the structure of your story, the voice that you have throughout your story, characterization, and they will really help you be able to mold the entire story so that it really, you know, all of the repetition is taken out and all of the elements that maybe you've not considered. I know when I was doing The Pretender, my editor came back to me and said, your characters don't move enough in the book. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about actually what they're doing, like, because they're talking and then they might be walking, but they don't actually, they weren't moving as you would do if you're with your friend and you might pick up your coffee cup, take a sip, and then you put it back on the coaster. It's important to actually add those little details in to add that movement, which I never even considered. So that was really, really helpful for me because, you know, if you read my work now, you'll see lots of that coming into play because now I'm aware of it. I make sure that I put it into the books. So a developmental editor will look at your book as a whole and help you present the best version of your story to your reader. Then you'll have a copy editor. A copy editor will give you the mechanics of the prose, or they will give you information, or they'll give you critique on the grammar and the punctuation or the consistency of your style, but they won't do the characterization. They won't give you any lead on the voice, or whether maybe you haven't got enough movement, or maybe there's something that's glaringly obvious to the plot and maybe it ruins the whole book, but they won't necessarily highlight that to you because they're only looking at a very specific element for copy editing. And then you'll have the proofreader. Now the proofreader really is just about removing typos and grammar. It's not going to look at anything to do with consistency or styling or voice. They will just literally tell you, this is a typo, this is bad grammar. That is not helpful because there is an element of that later in the process when you want to just be able to make sure that you take out all your typos, and that's absolutely fine. It's really important when you are looking for an editor to understand what type of editor you're looking for. My recommendation to you as a first-time self-published author is to go for a developmental editor who can really help you with their skills and their experience to plug the knowledge gap that you will have. And it will be more expensive. And one of the things that really does let a book down is it being badly produced or badly written. And it's not even about being badly written. You could, I would class my work as being very well written, but it isn't in the way that your readers would want to read it. And that's where the editor comes in. And I don't pretend that I'm writing this in a way that would be publishable right now. I'm going to work with people to make it publishable because I don't really understand what it takes or what I need to do by myself to get it to that standard so that I can make sure I have the best product at the end, because like I've said before, that quality aspect is really important to me. The second thing you need to consider when looking for the perfect editor for your book is their credentials and their background. Have they got any publishing experience? Is it in-house publishing? Is it freelance publishing? Is it traditional publishing? What gives them the ability to hold themselves out as an editor? Also look, how much experience do they have? What you want is probably 5+ years of experience so that you know that this person has a very consistent track record. And also look at the books that they've helped to produce. Look at the reviews, because if you look at the reviews on Amazon, maybe the book that they say is their best book, and the reviews are saying, who edited this? It's absolutely terrible. They are full of typos, full of mistakes. It's like, nobody edited this. Then you know that perhaps this isn't an editor that's thorough. It's not somebody that's going to give your work the best chance, because you didn't put all of this effort to have it not received really well by your audience, and you don't want to let yourself down by trying really hard to do your best and then cutting corners with the editing. I think in terms of the quality of the book, the editing is the most important part, because it's what's going to have a major impact on your readers' enjoyment of your book. So take a look at their track record, their experience. Don't be afraid to ask for their portfolio and to be able to look into how people received the work that they were involved in, to give you an idea of, whether this is a good editor and whether it's somebody that you would like to work with your work. Thirdly, don't be afraid to shop around. I know that as an author, when we go out to a traditional publishing company, we might send our work to their editors or somebody on their website that obviously they talk about them as being an editor, and they're a big and they're an important person because they hold the ability to decide whether you are going to be traditionally published or whether you're not. The editor that you're going to does not hold that power. Do you know why they don't hold that power? Because you are already publishing your own work. So they don't get to decide. You are their customer. You do not go to them in a position of deference like you might do if you were going to a traditionally published route. You go to them knowing that you're the customer and they need to fit in with what you want. You don't fit in with them because it's a completely different dynamic. So you want to find an editor that's the best fit for you. Do they like your work? Because if they don't like your work, how are they going to give it the best chance? Are they excited about it? Do they believe in it? Do they, buy into it? All of the elements that you need that traditionally published editor to feel for your work, you kind of also do need the self-published editor also needs to feel it, because if they really buy into your work, if they really enjoy your work, they will do the best for it, because it will be something that excites them. And so I suppose you're looking for that same passion in your editor that you've got yourself for your work. And it does come. You might be listening to me saying this, saying, well, why would they be passionate about my work? But trust me, people are passionate about good work. When I was writing The Pretender and I was going through the process for that, my editor was very complimentary and glowing about my work, saying that they felt it was going to be a classic, that it was an absolutely fantastic story. So they didn't shy away from giving that really positive praise. And even my book designer was saying how fantastic he thought the book was and how I'd done a really good job. So people give this praise because they buy into what you're trying to create, and they become a part of it. Your success is their success as well. Your work makes up their portfolio. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. If your work does well and sells well, it helps them promote themselves in their fields as well. And that's how you all help each other. And I think that that's really nice. So that's what I like about the self-publishing process. And I really enjoy working with people and really enjoy seeing what we can build together creatively, because, who wants to do that on their own? The fourth thing is to make sure your editor is knowledgeable about your genre. As a young adult, new adult author, going to a horror editor might not be the best approach for me. They might not have the greatest interest in that book because their specialty is the horror genre, and I definitely don't write that. So make sure that they are knowledgeable and that they have some kind of experience within your genre. And that's important because you want to appeal to that genre. They can tell you, okay, well, this is really great, but it's not going to appeal to this market because this, and this needs to be in there. And it might be that you haven't picked up on that because, we don't have the experience that they do. That's what a publishing insight gives you, and that's why it's really important to have people who have that experience. And that's why I think it's really important to make sure that the editor that you choose is knowledgeable and has experience in the genre that you're writing, so that they can give you the best opportunity to write your book in a way that will really, really appeal and hit to your market, because that's going to give you the best chance of success for your book. The fifth thing you need to consider when choosing your editor is their manner, because at the end of the day, you need to be able to get on with your editor. It's a really close relationship that you're going to have. They're going to be critiquing your work, and you don't want someone to say it in a really abrasive, horrible kind of way. I'm not saying that there's editors out there that would be really horrible and abrasive, but, for instance, if there's a plot hole, you want them to kind of, not say it to you in a way that makes you feel like you failed as an author, but to say it, hey, this is really fantastic, but actually this little bit just lets it down for this reason. And there's a way to say it. And if that person isn't able to say it to you in a way that doesn't make you feel attacked, then you're probably gonna have a few issues. And publishing is fraught with author-editor disputes. And it probably comes down to communication at the end of the day, because you're both really on the same page and you should want the same things. So choose someone whose manner fits what you need it to be. And I know that that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, but you'll be talking to them, I dare say, when you're choosing to decide whether to hire them. You're going to shop around, but you're probably going to call them, have a chat with them on the phone, tell them what you think, send them your work. Pay attention to their responses, how they talk to you on the phone, how courteous their emails are, just to give you a gauge about whether this is someone that you can get on with as well as work with. And also, one thing that I obviously really found is making sure that the editor prioritizes your work. Because as a self-published author, one of the things that I found with my first book, The Pretender, was that because you were self-publishing, time didn't seem to matter. And I know that I had this situation with the editor of The Pretender where I said, okay, I need to have my book by, say, the 20th of July. And she had been really, really busy. And she was like, oh, sorry, I don't think I'm going to get it done for the 20th of July. Sure, can we do it a bit later? And I had to say to her, no, because everything is set in motion. So just because I'm self-publishing doesn't mean that I can extend my deadline, because I actually already had the blog tour booked. So what that meant is I needed to get all of the work done, ready to give it to them a month in advance. So this was like the 20th of July. I was publishing on the 11th, I think, or the 14th or the 11th of September. I can't remember, around that kind of time. So I needed to have it to bloggers by August. So I needed to have everything done in that first week of August. So I had no time to push it any further. So she was quite alarmed when I said there's no more time to be able to push this back to. So I feel that what happened was that my work got rushed, because there were quite a lot of mistakes within it that I wouldn't have expected, and caused a lot of stress for me, because I felt like I had to then go and comb through it, and I had to take extra time off work to make sure that I could get it where it needed to be. And I know that I had that situation where I felt that my work wasn't being prioritized, and I felt like because I was a self-published author, it was seen as I didn't have a solid deadline because I could just keep pushing it. And actually that's really not true. And if you have an editor that looks at your work like that, I would probably not work with that editor, because you really need someone who's going to respect your deadlines. Because trust me, those deadlines are as set in stone for a self-published author as they are a traditional published author. It really is important, because we have a knock-on effect in the same manner. You know, if I hadn't have been able to get that book to the bloggers in time, I would have lost out on effectively reaching over 100,000 people with the launch of my book. And so be really careful when looking for an editor to make sure that they do prioritize your work, and that they will treat you as a valuable client. Because if they can't, and they can't see that you are a valuable asset as a self-published author, you need to try and find someone who will. So there you go, readers. There's the 5 things you need to consider when looking for an editor to work with your own self-published work. If you found this interesting and insightful, please do leave a comment in the comments box below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so that other people can find my work too. And I will be back with you soon with another video to help you along with your own process and to keep you updated on where I'm going with mine. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.